part 2 of our Chieftain mini series. As you can tell, it's a little cold today. The hat's come back and I've even put a pair of gloves on. Time for this one to come out. You know, it's got the oil leak on the bottom. From that little bit of running, that oil trail has come back, so he does need sorting. And it's got that coolant leak as well, that again does need sorting. This job suddenly got a lot easier because there's no main engine in the way anymore. You can pull these out without taking the main engine out. It's just easy to pull the main. Yeah, it's a bit more work, but they are a tight fit to get out, because you've got to take the big old hydraulic pump off the back, and then you tip them up and then bring them out, because they tuck underneath the header tank and the radiator quite a bit. So what have I got to undo? Well, the exhaust is already off, apart from lifting the main engine. The duct into the generator is already off from doing the main engine. Most of the hydraulic connections are undone. There's a couple that go to the hull. That little motor there spins a fan. Undo them. I've got the 3 diesel pipes, same as the main. 2 return, 1 feed. Water connections are already undone. So they share that with the main. I've then got a stop cable and a throttle cable down in this corner. Oil tank is tucked around the front. 2 pipes for that. And then I've got the actual hose from the air cleaner for intake air. Oh, and that comes off as well, just makes life a little easier. Oh, and then say 2 mountain bolts down there. If we we don't use the hydraulic start system, so we don't actually have the cable pinned in, but there would be a pin down here, but as I say, he's not in, so I'll set you up somewhere and then we'll make a start. Oh, and electrics all here. Let's just start by just making sure nothing, so main engine throttle cable, lay him back out of the way, make sure he don't get caught. Now then, let's go for a hydraulic line down here. There we go. So there's 2 hydraulic pumps on this engine. There's the big one, which does the hydraulic start, and then there's this little one. The little one actually feeds the big one, but it also does the fan motor. So if you're running the engine and you've got just the just using the generator engine, it means you can have a fan going, and there's a couple of clutches, Sprag clutches in the fan, so there's a belt that powers it, so the fan can be powered by the generator engine, but the fan can't then power the motor. So yeah, that is those 2 pipes off. So you got this one that connects into the header tank for the hydraulic feed. He comes down into this motor unit or pump unit, out the bottom. That's the first one I undid. Comes then up through here into the motor unit. Splits off into various places. This pipe then goes back up to the header tank, and then this one that comes around out of here and then into, and that's the feed for this one. Marriage panel, much similar to what we saw on the main engine. So we've got our actual engine harness plugs in, and then we've got 4 self down connectors, 2 for the starter motor and then 2 for the generator. That's it. A bit easier. So that's my 4 power's in and out. Yep, and he's unplugged as well. So that's my engine's electrics disconnected. Probably next bet is diesel lines. 3 diesel lines are here. I say these are what I originally suspected for our diesel leak, as we have had these off a little recently. One was blocked and they're not particularly fun to try and get on. Just see if pop you down there. There you go. They're not particularly fun to try and get on when the engines are in. So it's kind of, you lean down and do it by feel. There's one. Him up out of the way. Out of the way as well. And then the feed. Him off. And tuck him up and out of the way. Next bit I'm going to tackle. Go for this little bit. Get him out my way. Alrighty, here's on one pattern of 4, but the back 2 are slotted. So I just have to slacken them off and then they all come out. It off, gasket stays behind, so there's the slotted holes, quite crudely done. So you can see that air cleaner pipe is off, he's on a V-band clamp, and then one oil pipe is there, the other one is, you can just about see down there. I normally go for pulling the filler off the oil tank, gets me a bit more room, swing a spanner in there. Crow's foot would be really good for that. Don't have one, just have to make do with what we've got. And then cables, mention them. Throttle cable is here. Pull the pin out, unbolt the holder from the engine, and then stop is on this rod. So you undo the nut there, pull the rod off without adjusting him. And then other than mounts, which we need, so undo them when we're ready to lift it, we're pretty much there. Engine, if I'm rightly, wants to be running. Springs in the governor. Anything mean the engine wants to run flat out, and the throttle pins it back. Which does mean, having left it at idle, because I switched it when we switched it off, as you saw in the last video we did run it briefly and switched it off, there we go. It means there's a bit of pressure on the throttle cable. He's now off. Here's a little pin. I'm going to just pop him back in the end of the cable though, so you don't get lost. That would be a bad day. Throttle cable is off. So that's idle, that's flat out, and then that, if you go this way, you can go beyond flat out. One of the things, so the difference between the two, so there's two Mark generator engine. There's the Mark 7 and the Mark 10. Both have the letter A at the end. The Mark 7 revs up to 2000 RPM. And that is just what it does. You use that for when you're doing electrical generation, and you're losing that for when you do the hydraulic start. This is a 10A, you see, in there. So this revs up to 3000 RPM. So 2000 RPM is here, say idle, 2000 RPM, and then when you push it forward, you can see it pushes on this linkage, answers the pump slightly, and this will now rev up to 3000 RPM. So 2000 is where you're using the generator, and they were finding the 2000 RPM on the 7A wasn't quite enough oomph to use the hydraulic start 100% reliably. So they actually are slightly less powerful at 2000 RPM, these engines, but they'll rev higher and make more power there. And that's the big difference between the two Marks generator engine. The other thing as well is a 10A and a 7A. A 10A is actually upside down compared to a 7A. The 7A, so we're the same as the L60, crank top and bottom, 6 pistons, 3 cylinders, so it's like a baby version. So on a 10A, that's our exhaust manifold down there. You see that connects up then and then comes all the way around and up the top. And that inlet manifold is up the top. And on the 7A, it's the other way round. The exhaust is at the top and inlet's at the bottom. This is where I have to now be careful though, because I don't want to drop anything in the oil tank. Be a bad day. Because I doubt I'd get it back. All the dipstick out, just so I don't bat it. There's a long old thing. Let's not bend that by accident. Filling it out. Access now to this pipe and that one. Again, can't really see much with the camera because it's a dark hole. I might actually as well now see if I can get this pipe out as well, because it's just annoyingly flopping around. It is. This is the last bit pretty much. I'll move yourselves and you can just about see. So this is the feed pipe. Hand tight at this point. Yeah. One, and the other one here. Okay. And now, other than the actual mounts, which is one down there and then one there, which I'll leave until we're ready to lift, that is the generator engine disconnected. And that's only taken me 45 minutes. It's not bad going, really.
Right, so as you've seen, Josh has disconnected all the engine ready for us to lift. And you can probably hear in the background that mighty militant roaring away. So let's get this GU engine out, let's get it in the workshop. There's a couple of other little jobs what I do to it. You've seen the oil leak and the antifreeze leak, but I also want to rebuild a hydraulic pump for her. So the hydraulic pump is responsible for turning this fan on the front, this side fan on the front of the L60. That keeps the coolant system cool when running the auxiliary engine. They share the same coolant system. So there's a one-way clutch in there and a hydraulic motor that drives that. And the pump on our engine has never been particularly good. So we've always only ever run the GU engine if we've got the main engine running to cool it. But like all things, once you get around to fixing it, it's good to do the job properly and actually fix it.
We're ready to lift now. So literally just the 4 mountain bolts. That cable is bolted to the clamp for that cable is on the side of the engine, so as soon as it comes away a bit I can then get a ratchet in there to undo it. I say the pump that we were interested in, what Aaron was mentioning, is that one.
Josh is now ready to me to give him the hook, so we'll give her a little bit of hand throttle. She do sound good. Oh, gorgeous. Right, so let's get the hook in position. We come round to our crane seat. Because we don't have a remote. It does annoy me that. I do want a remote, but she's too old, I think. The other thing that annoys me about the crane is the puddle of water you get here. And if you then turn it around and drop the crane, the puddle of water then becomes here. She can't really win. That's just water as well, sits in between the seal. So, late Norfolk gone. Right, let's get the hook ready for Josh.
They sit on a little lip on an edge, and then I've got like a C-shaped section that bolts down over top and pins them to the side, and that is the easiest way to get them out. You unbolt them, but because they're pulled in so tight by the mountain bolts, a little bit of crane pressure and the whole lot just pops off. And I've just got one cable, which is the clutch cable for the big pump, which bolts between the engine, on the engine between it and the hull, which is this cable here. So even though we don't use it, so we've got the cable in place, keep it out of the way. But a bit like the air pipe for the main engine generator, you can't get to it until you've already started lifting. Ease off, drop out of the way, bolts there. I just pull the whole got, if I grab the camera, hello camera. So the engine sits on that shelf, and there's one there, and then they bolt in, and you can see they kind of clamp it up to the wall to stop it from falling over. And the easiest way is just a little bit of pressure, and they just then go pop, and off they come.
Engine is now out, hanging from the hook, ready for phase 2. So we need to drain the oil out of the sump, and we need to get the antifreeze out of it, and then we're going to just give it a good inspection. This engine's now been fitted for many years, to be fair, probably 5 years. Get up that way. So it hasn't been out in all that time. So we want to give it a good look round, see if there's anything that needs doing while she's out. We'll go from there, really. So let's have a look around. Things we've noticed. Something is rubbing through there, and it's just rubbed through the inlet manifold. So we need to address that, work out what is rubbing that through, and then it has put a little hole in it, so we do need to fix that. It's also rubbed through the air intake pipe here. These little, again, 2-stroke engine. There's a scavenge blower. It's important we don't leak air from supercharger externally, if not she will really be down on power. So that's quite important. We've got a leak from this exhaust manifold, which is quite apparent why that might be leaking there. She appears to have rattled a bolt out. So we need to find a new bolt, Josh, and get that looked at. Also, the exhaust gasket up here has been leaking, so we want to get that new gasket for that ready when she goes back in. Come around to this side. This side, really, Josh, is probably alright. There's nothing.
Well, this is the side we can look at.
Yeah. This exhaust side, this isn't leaking, which is good because that's behind the injection pump. There's the injectors. We've got the world's longest split pin in here. Well, that's about. So the oil leak is from here, which is sump drain to the main scavenge oil pump. I hate trains. And I believe we've replaced the washers in this before, Josh. Locking wire's loose though, so that's not ideal. Bolt appears tight though, but we've got to undo him to drain the oil out.
That another washer.
Yep, it hasn't gone through. Not done what I thought though, so them bolts, if they're over tightened, they crack. But that, I think, is a bolt that is, I don't know if it's early or late, if they change the design, but they do a banjo bolt that goes in here. Rather than have just the 2 holes, it's got 4, and then they crack and ring round across the bolts, and then they're not too tight. Which I was expecting maybe to have happened here, but it hasn't. So that's not our issue. Hopefully be a case of just making sure that we're flat in here, flat on the banjo, and new copper washers, and away we go. This is going to drain for ages.
It is.
I can already tell it's going to drain for ages. It is indeed. Back one's not fun, but it's done from the other side, I think.
Yeah, I can get to that. It's in the middle of the back.
Right, so let's pull this off. We'll stick a rag in there, Josh.
Does he go through?
Where'd come first, the chicken or the egg? Because I can then pull this way from the engine and you can wiggle through. Yeah, you might have to be a bit more precise with the wheels.
Got him.
He will come off. Do you have to cut him? We require a new one of them, Josh.
Yeah.
You better hurry up.
Yeah?
Yeah, we've only got 1% battery.
Oh god. Welcome to how to very quickly remove a pump because we've only got 1% battery. Oh, there's that one. Try not to throw it on the floor.
Don't drop them in the oil.
No, don't want to. Not wash it.
Face of
Concentration. There we go. Let's get this bit to the bench.
Right, so we're going to put that on the bench and we'll meet you there. Right, so hydraulic pump off our generator engine. We're expecting this to be quite bad. It's the one off our original engine. The engine in our tank now came out of a hedge. We got going. Most of our stuff seems to originate from a hedge. Should be tinkering with things out of hedges.
Yeah, probably, to be fair.
It should. That was knackered, so we put our other one on. This has been run dry with no oil in it for I don't know how long. The MOD were using it as part of the SID project with the GU engine not plumbed in properly, and none of the hydraulics plumbed in, and all the pipes missing for that. And then we carried on like that until we've now had the moment to fix it and do it properly and gather all the bits we needed. So I'm expecting this to be beyond economical repair, really. But just in case it's not, let's pull it apart and have a go. If not, I've got another one that came out of a hedge, but is better, maybe. I don't know. Whatever happens, by the end of this video, a pump will be bolted to our engine and it will work. We just don't know at this stage how we're going to get to that point. So, pump inlet and outlets. This is the inlet, this is where oil comes into the pump. And we know that because it's bigger. You'll see the size difference there, they are bigger. We also know that because it says in. But not all pumps say in. Sometimes you just have to look at it and work out the inlet and outlet. Let's pull this. It does look bad. We've got copious amounts of swarf in here. So, suspicions are correct. It probably is knackered. There's a little shroud that goes over this to guard that, because that spins with the engine running. And that is so you can turn over the generator engine and build up oil pressure and get oil around everywhere before you start it up. Here we've got how it drives. So we've got to take this drive flange off, and to do that we have got a locking plate here. And bend that back down, undo that nut, and then we should be able to draw that off. I want something to put between it, I think. we go. Now what we can do, take the last of the front housing nuts off. So this is purely an adapter plate to the engine. So I've got another locking plate here, if the camera can see. I'm going to heat this up in a bit to get this off, but for now let's get the front of the pump off and have a look. There's no point wasting too much time on this pump if it is, as our suspicions say, been run dry. So what we should say is it's beyond economical repair, but to me, you and everyone else, it's fucked.
Quack.
You're late. You should have said that. You've got a little keyway just to get out. So he's out. It does appear that she is a milling machine. All that swarf in that housing there. Oh, that's silver. It's milled the two end plates. Bits of metal everywhere. It is what we expected, really, isn't it? So we've got our old knackered one. I'm not going to touch him because I've got clean hands, but yeah, dead. This one's cleaned up alright actually. A little bit of rubbish inside, especially in the ports that have been open, you know, to the elements. But the pump itself, actually pretty good with very minimal wear. Main thing to note is there's a little bit of corrosion on this shaft here. But that's actually underneath this bush, so doesn't matter. None of our end plates particularly worn, when you can see where the rotors have gone round, but nothing untoward. Bush is all nice and tight on the shafts. On the other end plate, and the seals are still nice and soft, so I'm going to reuse them. So, where do we start first? So we've obviously got new seals for it. And I can't help but give these guys a little bit of a shout out, even though I've just cut straight through their logo. Bearing supplies Norwich are awesome. You can put them the weirdest seal or bearing known to man, and Robert there will come back with one. Really is, they've got everything or access to everything, and they really understand old bearings. And that's hard to get at a bearing shop these days. It really is. You start getting them the RMP numbers and R&M and what is the other one? Hoffman bearing numbers. I'm like, what is that? Them boys know exactly what it is, and it's on the shelf.
Or bearing numbers metric on the one ID.
Oh yeah, or some of the weirder bearings we've had where they're metric on the ID but imperial on the OD. Like, what is that about? But again, knew what it was straight away. Out to us same day. They post through at the UK. I ain't been paid to say this. I know how awkward it is to get hold of seals and bearings for some old stuff and helping you guys out. This is certainly not an advertisement. I'd need beer for that, and they haven't given me any beer. So, bearing fit the new ceiling. It's more than enough. I do like to bear and fit if they are metal out external. He goes this way because he's actually sealing oil from this side. Oh, he's home. He's home, Josh. I was thinking, this is getting tight. He must just sit. Oh no, he's flush. Only just. Yeah, so he's sealing oil from the gear case this side. This one actually opens to atmosphere through this hole here. Then our front pump is then sealed here. So we've gone twin lip seals, and because we are sealing oil coming out of the pump, they go this way. So put them in. Now I've just got a socket the right size. Check to see she's all the way home. It is indeed. Now we've got the O-rings to put on. So we've got an external one, and these are the originals. They're still soft and malleable. Haven't seen any need to change them yet. Then we've got this one. Now the O-ring on this inside one, where all most of the pressure is, we've got a little plastic backup to him, just to stop the pressure to form in the O-ring and then causing a leak. The next job is now to put in the end plates. This is a bearing face for the shafts to spin on. We've got phosphorus bronze bushes. First shaft through. Next we'll stuck our second shaft in. Lubricate in. Make sure they're all seated nicely. And we can put him in. And the end plate. Tap the dowels in, spins nicely. They're bolted together. So got some bolts that come through and they lock on the housing, so we haven't got to actually So that is one built up lubricated pump.
Thermostat. This was our antifreeze leak, and I grabbed a little handy cam. Grab a little handy cam, turn you around so you can see what. it. This was the little crack that could. He wasn't originally this big. Not quite all the way through, little hairline crack. A little poke and well off it came. Less than ideal. So to fix this, so I'm going to have to split it, take the thermostat out because he's in there. Just about, I can just about see it. I don't think the camera can. So take it apart, clean it up, and then hold it in a way so I've got the side cover off of an engine we've stripped for bits. So I've got the two bits together onto the plate, feed them out so we can then weld it. So yeah, I'm going to start with taking this apart. And even though we've had this every which way up to try and drain it all out, it's still dripping antifreeze on the bench.
We give it the old. They always stick, don't they?
Yeah.
Another bit for you. I'd imagine we cracked it there already. And we know give it the old. Yep. Just like that. Just like that. Right then. Right then. Better clean it up. Better clean it up. We're going to try and weld this back together. We V'd it out massively. I'm expecting to hopefully get some tacks on here, here and here. Maybe one in the middle. Take it off and then weld it from the other side, then back to this side. I'm very much learning TIG welding. I'm a coded MIG welder. I know about MIG welding, but TIG, not so much. But it's one of them things you learn from doing, really. I don't think this is welding too bad for baked bean cans and old crap and dirty old cast. And people that do weld aluminium will probably back me up that old cast is not the funnest things to weld to. So we're bridged across here now, and we've bridged across here, and in there we're now going to try and start working along here and clean it up a little bit better. I'm finding like a lot of cast that if I run across with no weld or no filler material first and sort of start melting the base material, I can then weld to that, whereas if I'm adding filler to it straight away, it's just going kaput. Now done a first pass in here where we V'd out, if the camera can see. Starting to weld a bit better now. So I think now we'll then just go back through. I want to cut out the inside, a little bit out of the inside, and do something here, and then we'll put a cap over the top. If you've got a crack here, that is a crack. He goes all the way through, but for this we'll call it straight. So we V it out so we can weld into the very bottom, and then we put sort of a first route in, And that's slightly lower power, so we don't burn through this bottom, but we penetrate it fully. And then we'll come along and we'll cap the top off. Which I think is the right terminology for TIG welding as well. I'm a MIG welder, so. But that's the principle behind it. You can go slightly lower power and really burn into that and get as much penetration as you can, and then you can cap over the top. But I think we'll let her cool down a little bit now because my hand's getting hot getting near it. I'm going to clean up the inside a little bit now and see if we're happy how it's going. Right, last bit of welding, Josh, and then we're done. Final clean up, final bit of welding, final clean up. But we're now back to how it should be in there. So, jobs are good. Chuck some blue dye on. More than I need. And then we'll run a file over it. It is aluminium and it will clog the file. It's quite an abrasive file. But of the amount of filing we're going to have to do, I don't think it's really going to matter. You just want to be able to just go one swipe and flatten it off. Because if they're in flat, we'll just crack it as we try and do it up, or A or B. It's not going to seal. And then we ain't getting anything.
One painted new repaired thermostat housing. You see the remnants of the blue showing, hoping to get it, well, getting it pretty much flat. Here's that way round. Took me a moment to remember that. As that camera turns itself off. But thermostat tested, he works. One mug later, one hot mug of hot water later, we know he works. He sits in there. Till he's the top because it says top on it. Always helps. And then, not saying that we weren't confident, that we're not confident, but that paper gasket had it. So we've just got some good old RTV sealant. Someone left that out in the rain last night. Josh, I know where you live and I also know where you're moving to. Give that a clean. And then just go for you. Fairly generous. Maybe it comes out forwards that way. It's attached to the engine. So it goes that way round. And you're probably telling me if I got that right or wrong. That was this morning I took this apart. Whereas for you, it was probably about 5 minutes ago. And that is now ready to go back on the engine. Broken. So that's the side we had to weld. the big bit broken off. This one then had the little bit. So it's not too bad. Not really know. And she actually took it off. Engine on this will stand in workshop, closer to tools, got it out the way of the door. And now that the thermostat housing is repaired, I'm going to start fitting it by taking off this diesel pipe, because this engine is quite tightly packed. It should be drained because it's the feed, and well, I'm sure we take the other end of that off to take the engine out. You can say it comes down, across, and is this one down here. So should, in theory, hopefully, not leak diesel on the floor. No spillage. Yeah.
It's a bit awkward, is it?
It's a bit awkward. I've started putting the engine back together by taking it further apart.
Sounds like you work with Chieftain.
Yeah. But I'm now dry fitting this.
Gonna fit.
Can you hold them up? Should. Go on. There we go. So it does go on.
I fixed something.
I did fix something. Can't get him off though. Oh no, I can really pull this off. There we go. Process as before. Put a bead around there. Smear them out. A little extra on that, and then I might need a ham. If you hold them back up, try and hold him out without scraping all the sealant off. And stabbed myself with a bit of lock wire down the injection pump. He's on. That did take a while. Right, let's get filter feed. Get that done back up before it gets forgotten about. I'll show you. Bring little handy cam along. So the one I was struggling to get in there. You can just see the little bit of blue sealant, and he's there. So you see why that was so hard to get to. And then I've just got to start putting everything I took off to get that out back on. Probably start with the rest of the coolant pipes. So I probably now want to go for this pipe, the pipe that goes to the water pump. So I've put a new bit of flexi on already, so I have to cut him out. And the pipe is somewhere yet to be disclosed. Found it. It was there. So you were probably shouting at me, it's behind you. Oh, we need a quick clean. Let me get through that and I'll be back. Drop the Jubilee clips over the bit of flexi that I've already put on. And then, so this one pulled a stud, which I don't know if this makes it easier or worse. Let's go for the old bit of sealant. Let's try. had him off. The pipe actually had a bang. Replaced the pipe, you can see that's been smacked and not flat anymore. So pipe robbed off of another engine, and to make sure he don't come out, we lock wire these. So big old reel of lock wire. Now I need to find the end. There's an end. Don't need. That'll do. And then probably have to go off the pipe. It's going to be a little on the old short side actually, this bit. That's not lock and wire pliers, this is lock and wire pliers. So they lock and then twist. Put more turns on. And then, annoyingly, I've got one hole there and the other one's on this one. So, one little bit. Looking through. And then now, it's not the best one to show off because of how low down it is, but twisted up until the hole, you poke one leg then through the hole, one goes round, and then you twist it back together. And they just... Apart from, I've been a muppet and I've done that the wrong way. That'll stop me from tightening it. Cut the tail off. Tuck him in. There we go. That's better.
So that's the H30 back in the engine bay. In the next video we'll have to get the L60 back in and see if we can get the hydraulic start working, because the main engine has two ways of starting. We've got electrically on a starter motor and then hydraulically on a hydraulic starter motor, and let's see if we can get that working. We've never had that going, but we thought now it's time. So stick around. If you like what you see, subscribe. We do have a members section on our channel where you see daily updates of what we're up to in the workshop and just what we're up to, so consider joining that. I'll put a link down that in the description. See you guys in the next one.